Hi there. I'm back today to talk about something that, if you know me in real life, know that I can talk a lot about because it's something that really bothers me. And that is some myths out there about trauma informed care. So I think the biggest myth that there is, particularly in education about trauma informed care, is that it is only useful to school districts that have a certain demographic of children. That demographic being um, higher poverty, higher free reduced lunch percentage, and that's just not true. If we really think about our schools and our districts that are in middle class areas all the way up to very wealthy areas, and we think about some of the issues that we see as a society from students in that demographic, maybe you are thinking of suicide. Maybe you are thinking about drug and alcohol abuse. Those are very real and impact those demographics quite a bit. Maybe you were thinking about more absent parents. So, kind of in that neglect category that we talked about in a previous video. These are all things that they can impact really any student, but maybe those are the things that you think of when we are thinking about a higher socioeconomic status district. So I hate hearing that trauma informed care or practices are not necessary in those types of districts because I think it's very short sighted and not taking into account the different types of trauma that those kids may be experiencing. Sure, maybe they're not living in poverty. Maybe they are not being abused on a daily basis, but certainly they may be looking at or facing parents who are divorced, domestic violence issues. We see a lot on the news about kids in very high performing schools and districts making suicide pacts with one another. So, all of these things lead me to believe that we're really missing the mark in some of these districts by thinking or taking the perspective that trauma informed care is not going to be beneficial for these kids. The fact of the matter is, trauma informed practices are useful for all kids. That's the really great thing about them. And I teach this at every school that I go to, that sure, we're using these and we're being really aware of these practices because of our kids that we have that are coming with ACEs, with baggage. But the great thing is, these strategies are great and beneficial and effective for all kids, no matter who they are. I know this. I use them with my own children, and my own children do not have a high number of ACEs. They are not living in poverty. They are not experiencing trauma on a regular basis. None of those risk factors apply to my personal children, and yet I see the benefit of using the practices, and I see what has come from using them at home with my kids. So that's probably the biggest myth that I hear, and it's really one that I would really love to see go away, because it's just not true. So I hope that this has kind of given you, maybe a different perspective on things. If you were a person that kind of thought that maybe these practices aren't so necessary at my school, I'm pretty sure that if we think hard enough, we can think of at least one student in our building that has experienced trauma. and could benefit from these strategies. So thanks for joining me today. I will be back next time with a different video on a different topic.